you so much for joining us. This is the Bridge to Healing podcast. I am Serena Baptista, and I'm so excited today. We have a very special guest, Deb Frueh. Now, Deb is the daughter of Tommy Thompson, who led the research group that invented the remote control. Just one of those small little things. And then her mother is Marianne Thompson, who was one of the founders of La Leche League International. That's some big shoes to fill, but it also, I can imagine, Deb, that was leading you on this journey of expansion and getting bigger and understanding who you are. Having parents like that, that is just amazing. So Deb has been a psychic all her life and has been reading the tarot professionally for 38 years. In 2014, she invited her psychic friends out to her log cabin on a lake in the woods for a bonfire. That was the seed that grew into the worldwide metaphysical tribe. And now it is 12 years running, and the tribe attracts international speakers and attendees. And this year, I know that you are just planning something just so amazing. Let's start there. Let's talk about what you're planning and when the conference is, when the event is, and then we can go from there. Because I know that the people who are watching would love to know how to be part of this tribe.
Well, thanks for having me, Serena. I always so excited to talk about the tribe, but this year particularly, because this year we are diving into the telepathy tapes. So this has become the number one audio podcast on earth, and it bounces up and down. Sometimes, as soon as they put out an episode, they go to number one. This happens on the regular. And people all over the world are starting to understand that telepathy isn't a maybe sort of thing. It's not an old-fashioned ESP kind of thing, but it's something that's going on now and has been refined and can be tested and can be replicated with
Yes.
regular people, with regular people. And so my thought this year when I was putting together, who will my speaker be back in January, I thought to myself, well, I really think that with everything that the world is going through right now, perhaps it's time for us to find the new tools.
What a great
And
plan.
and so when I heard the telepathy tapes, which absolutely moved my heart, I got a hold of Kai Dickens, the woman who's making the documentary and has created the podcast, the
Oh,
Telepathy
wow.
Tapes podcast. And we chatted for a while, and I said, hey, I've got this 4-day event. We'd love to have you be the headliner, and this is my vision, etc. And she was all on board.
Oh, that's
And
wonderful.
then she went number one. And as soon as
Wow.
she went number one, um, money started just pouring in for her
Oh,
to create her documentary. You can't tell everybody who's giving you money, hey, look, I got to go to this 4-day event. I'll be back. You can't slow
right.
down the momentum. You have to keep working. And so she called me and said, well, let's talk about what we can do because I can't really physically show up.
Oh,
So the
wow.
first thought was, well, we'll have her have a Zoom uh, hour of Zoom, and she said I could manage that, and I said, well, the problem is I can't because we are meeting deep in the woods, and
Right. Yeah, technology, right?
yeah, even though we have
Oh,
Starlink, we have terrible, terrible internet connectivity, and it's going to ruin your flow and it's going to ruin
right.
your message. And I've tried it before with other speakers, and I don't recommend it. And she said, well, I could do a last minute recording, an hour recording of the things that nobody knows yet. And I said,
Ooh.
That sounds good to me. Okay. And she said, and to put a little extra frosting on the cake, I will send an email out to everybody who appeared in the Telepathy Tapes podcast to see if anybody wants to go out physically to your event and speak. And so I couldn't wait to see what happened. And sure enough, um, Casey Carter, who is a teacher who appears in episode 5, who is telepathic with with her student, um, raised her hand. And so we
Oh,
got on the
wow.
phone because I wanted to see, who she is and what she thinks and all those things. And she was just the exact right person. And
Nice.
so she will be the live representative, and Kai will be there virtually or,
Nice.
record on a recording, but it'll be a last minute recording that we'll be getting. So yeah, I'm disappointed that Kai won't be there, but I sure do understand it's really important
Oh
to
my
get
gosh, right?
the documentary out. It's gotta
Yes.
that's number one. So yeah,
Yes.
so that's we have other speakers. And actually this year, I normally just my goal is to bring in cutting edge speakers in metaphysics.
Right.
So I want people to think beyond their experiences into
Right.
something maybe bigger that's breaking. And so that's always my goal. So oftentimes people say, well, I've never heard of any of your speakers, but you will. They're going to be somebody, they're already on their way. You just don't know who they are. But this year I went a little bit different tack. I I got people that are the same caliber, but I wanted to accomplish three things. I wanted people who were coming to learn how to ground themselves in this time of fear and uncertainty and
Yes.
be able to turn that grounding on at any moment. Not that you have to go home and meditate, but I'm in the post office and how can I do that? But to have something that you can just turn on, because it's important that we keep our equilibrium during this time. So that's number
Absolutely.
one. Number two, we still have to make a living. And for that, I have a woman that she's, I met her on Instagram, and she's only, as far as I know, on Instagram and Facebook. And she doesn't do readings. What she does is she teaches people to get in touch with their spirit guides. But
Nice.
she's so successful that I asked her to teach us how to be as successful. She told me that, she made a significant six-figure income last year, and she bought herself a house, but she also bought a house and donated it to the local shelter.
Oh my gosh.
And
Wow.
this is what I think the new commerce is going to be. Yes, it's good to make a living and it's good to be able to afford the things you need, but what are you doing for the community?
Right.
And so I just think she's inspiring. And it's funny because she's kind of a foul mouthed biker chick with purple hair.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
So she's definitely against type for the usual people that I have. So I look forward to her because she's a super special person. And then the third person that I have who's speaking is a master numerologist. Now, when people used to say numerology to me, I would just roll my eyes like, oh, right. Numerology, whatever. This is, the, the metaphysical uh, equivalent of mud pies. It's not. Well, I got on the phone with this woman and she said to me, everybody's saying that what they see in the future is, civil war, nuclear war, it's got to be the worst before we can rebuild and all this sort of thing. And she said, that's not what I see. She said, I see a future so bright, you got to wear shades. And I
Nice.
said, girl, we need somebody to give us a vision of a renaissance.
Right.
That's what we need to be able to hold while the ground shakes. And so that's my lineup this year. It's a little bit,
What is her name?
her name is Candace Powers.
Perfect. Great. I just want everyone to know these people are incredible people and they're going to share their wisdom and their understanding, their connection. That is huge because like you said, we're going into it's not really uncharted territory. I mean, everyone who's in charge knows what's going on. There's nothing that we need to understand other than what's our place here? What are we supposed to do here to get moving? And how do we connect with others? So tell us when. I don't know if we talked about that yet. When is that going to be, and how do people register?
Okay, so it is August 21st through 24th. And it's taking place in north central Illinois. So we're about 2 hours west of O'Hare, say. Um, it's almost a straight shot from O'Hare. So not
Nice.
no crazy driving. Um, anyway, this you can look at the tickets at the website, which is worldwideMetaphysicalTribe.com.
And I'll definitely have that on everything so that
Thank you.
anyone who's watching will be able to access that right away. Definitely.
I appreciate it. This takes place at a new venue. We had been at the same venue for 6 years and then they closed. And
Oh, wow.
this one fell into my lap in the most magical way. And it's 45 acres of woods, and
Wow.
it's got cabins and a big 10,000 square foot lodge. And it's just that. And today, after I'm finished here, I'm going out to see the new glamping cabins be
Oh,
installed.
that's great. Oh my
So
gosh, that's awesome.
there are going to be glamping cabins. People who have come before, uh, I had some feedback that they didn't care for the fact that there was no air conditioning. This thing is air conditioned from beginning to end.
Wow.
So yes, you're outside, and yes, it's going to be hot when you're out there, but it's, like I said, 45 acres. So we have golf carts to get you around if you're too hot, and all that sort
Wow,
of thing. So
nice.
it's going to be very, very nice. And we also have vendors who are going to be there.
Oh,
Um,
wonderful.
yeah. So the point is to, I actually deleted a couple of speaker slots. So you had time to be in the woods. You had time to
What a great
relax.
idea.
I have a sound healer who's going to do sound healings in one of the two wedding venue areas, which are just very rustic. And then she's going to walk around and do sound healing all day long.
Oh,
Um, yeah, so it's just going to be a really healing um, time to recalibrate,
right.
in a gentler way than we've been doing it.
Right. And that kind of leads into, where did this come from? What were you involved in? Where did you get your interest in even just psychic phenomenon, everything, telepathy? Where did that all come from?
Well, I was kind of born that way. My mother tells me that I always knew who was on the phone when it rang and that sort of thing. Um,
Wow.
and I do remember that. I mean, I remember the phone would ring and I go, it's grandma, so I was
Nice.
kind of born that way, always interested, but so was my mother. And she and I used to share books. And I learned a lot about the whole consciousness side of metaphysics. and through her, through the books that she lent me. And then I finally, went on my own quest, and I started to learn to read tarot actually more like 40 years ago.
Wow.
Um, but I was terrible at it. I was I tried to read for 2 years, and I was so bad. I embarrassed myself so horribly. And then I went to a party, and there was a woman there who was reading cards, and she was out in the living room with everyone. So it was okay to hang around and watch.
Right.
So I stood behind her because I wanted to see the mechanics of it, because boy, I just failed so badly
Well,
at
and
it.
tarot is not the easiest oracle card deck to start with. It does have complications. Well, I would say complications, intricacies. It
It
has
has
intricacies,
intricacies, but
definitely.
here's what I learned. I was banging my head against the wall with the deck that I had. And the woman who was sitting in front of me, turning over the cards, I knew what she was going to say. It was like watching television. Why? Because it was the right deck for me. And I didn't know
Wow.
that. I did. So I went
Right.
out right away and got that deck. And it's the only deck I use. I just absolutely love it. I've been using it since I bought them. So I teach tarot, and you can learn it in one day, because it's
Nice.
not the intricacies come as your interest deepens. And there's a million books out there and groups that you can join and so forth, but you can't bake bread until someone shows you how. You can't brew beer until someone shows you how. And
Right.
so, I mean, you can, but you know what I'm
Doesn't
saying,
mean it's
that
good.
right. If you've learned to bake the basic bread, and then you say, wait a minute, I have rye flour. I wonder what would happen if I twisted those together.
Right.
And so I get everybody started so that they understand the basic thought process behind it. And I do have an online every other Sunday international group that we we continue we continue the teaching. And
Oh, that's wonderful. And so is that kind of how the worldwide metaphysical tribe began? I mean, we talked about you were inviting people and it was a bonfire, and then how did it evolve into what you're doing now?
well, it started out that I live 2 hours away from everybody. And if I all my psychic friends, if I wanted to hang out with them, I was the one who had to do the driving. So I finally said, you're coming out to my house. We're going to go out to dinner. We're going to go to my house and build a bonfire and watch the Perseid meteor shower, which was that night, and bring a dessert. And we're just going to hang. And this was a Thursday night, about uh, 12 people came. And
Wow, that's great.
I couldn't make them leave. By 11:30, I was like, okay, you can go home now.
Time for
And
bed.
and they kept saying, you'll do this next year, right? So
Wow.
I can never just leave something alone. I always have to refine it. So by year two, I had a Celtic duo and a storyteller and a little bit of merch. And then the next year, I had a fire dancer, and
Oh, wow.
just, yeah, we don't tell my insurance man. So so it just people, more and more people started coming every week. I mean, every year. And finally, in the fourth year, my husband said, this is it. I cannot keep up with this. You need to find another venue. And I
You were
knew there
having
was
it at your place?
in my backyard. I have a huge
Oh my
backyard.
gosh. No wonder your husband said find somewhere else.
I have a huge backyard, but it's a lot of work to
That's a
prepare for a
lot of
party.
work. Exactly, especially
Yeah.
as the numbers build.
Exactly. So I knew there was this really fancy B&B around the corner from my house, but I always thought that, that was for the Vanderbilts, not for our little group. Um, and so, but I thought, well, I got to start somewhere. So I'm just going to prime the pump by going down there and seeing what they have. Well, I was knocked out. It was beautiful. It
Oh,
was
wow.
way too expensive. And the corporate person was taking me around. And when we got to the last uh, room, which is actually a huge apartment with a jacuzzi and a full kitchen and a wraparound porch, and
Oh my
it's just
gosh.
amazing. Yeah, and I offer that still every year, just to say thank you to them. And the owner walks in and she says, "So, what are you looking for? Is this a reunion or a birthday party?" And I took a breath and I said, "We're all psychic." And she said, "I've been waiting for you."
Wow. How
And so,
beautiful.
and so I knew I had to make it work. And so I made it work. And we were there for 6 years. Now, COVID 2020, we did a 2 day virtual, which was a lot of fun. I had people from 6 countries. Everybody got a swag bag. Even the people in China received them, which I was surprised.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, so it's been fun. Every year I get to make it whatever I'm in the mood to make it. So
That is
this year,
wonderful.
so this
And
year,
this
brand new
year,
place.
right,
Yeah.
brand new venue. And we talked a
Mhm.
little bit about that, but anything else that you wanted to add? What can people expect when they
Well,
arrive? What are the things that you're thinking of for them? And just, I want people to get excited about this because it sounds so amazing.
well, the cool part is on-site lodging and lower ticket prices if you stay in the on-site lodging. I also have three off-site places, including that super cool apartment that I was telling you about, um, that also qualify for the lower ticket price. So you can stay on site. There's this large 10,000 square foot um, log cabin that was built in the 60s or 70s in Montana and then brought to Illinois and reassembled. And all
Wow.
of the all of the speakers stay there, but I always rent the honeymoon suite out to 3 people who want to hang with the speakers. So 2 of those slots are still open. Um, I have primitive cabins, which is the best deal that you'll get as far as uh, how much it costs for lodging. And
Right.
so, because they don't have en suite bathrooms, it's just like real camping, where right over there is the showers and the bathrooms.
Hey,
Okay,
you got to do it though. I mean,
it's just
that's
like, but you get your
right,
own
like you
cabin.
said, right? Glamping, absolutely.
Well, 2 people per cabin. They're very fancy inside. But today comes the glamping cabins. Now, everything has air conditioning. The ones that are coming
Wow.
today, air conditioned, they have en-suite bathrooms.
Oh,
And
those
so they're,
do the
yeah, and
glamping
so
cabins
they're a
that are, oh, wow.
little bit more expensive, but not a
Of
lot.
course, right? Yes.
And then I have 2 off-site um, cabins. One's called the Bigfoot and one's called the Bobcat. And what's nice about those is the people who rent those, even though they have their own rooms, there's common areas and people get really cozy with each other as far as making meals together, planning hangouts. The owners live across the street. They come and build a big fire for you. I mean, it's
Wow.
just awesome. They're just lovely, lovely people. And I've been using them since the beginning too. So yeah,
Wow.
it's so just the convenience and the ability to stay on site so you don't have to travel so far, although the other off-site ones are about 10-minute drive.
Oh gosh, 10 minutes is
Yeah,
nothing.
10 minutes in the
Yeah.
country. In the country.
It's so
So
beautiful. I imagine just so beautiful.
it
And the
is
tickets are on sale, it looks until July 20th. So
until
people
July 20th.
need to figure this out. Don't wait
Uh,
until August.
yeah, it's if you wait till August, it's going to be a
There
little
won't be
dicey
anything
because,
there.
well, the reason is I like to make sure that everybody gets a goodie bag, that everybody's goodie
Right.
bags are, have the right
Well, and
things.
right, and lodging and all of that. There's a
Yeah,
lot that has to go into that.
a lot of
So
moving parts.
exactly. So everyone who is interested, please go to the website and look at all the details, look at all the speakers. It just sounds like it's going to be amazing. And also, the way that you and I connected is actually through IANS, International Association
Right.
of Near-Death Studies, which is also having their conference in Chicago, right outside of Chicago, just a week later. And so, wouldn't it be awesome to go to your worldwide metaphysical tribe experience and then stick around and go to the IANS conference also? That just sounds
Well,
amazing.
the really cool thing about IANS this year is one of their keynote speakers is Diane Hennessy Powell, who's the neuropsychiatrist who discovered that these autistic kids were actually highly telepathic.
Wow.
And
Wow.
she was, when she discovered this and she tested it and she, talked to many, many of the people involved, she wrote a book about it and she was kicked out of science. And then she told everyone who kicked her out of science to read her book. And when they did, they let her back in.
Wow.
And she recently was a speaker at Contact in the Desert, which is a huge UFO conference in Arizona that happens every year. And she did a telepathy experiment with the audience,
Oh,
and
wow.
it was well received. People were really, amazed, although there's always the naysayers, the people who are never going to go there. But that's fine. I mean, you can't make people be
Everywhere.
right.
In our industry, everywhere there are those people, but that doesn't, they'll come along when they're ready to come along. And boy, I hope that they do because this is just incredible stuff. And not only that, but helping us, like you said, move forward, helping us with the new energies. And I love what the astrologer, not the astrologer, the numerologist said about the future's bright. That's the way that I see it too. The future is bright. We just have to grab it. And by encountering other people and building this tribe, what you have done is created that space for people to encounter that energy. And I just love that. Love it.
Well, one of the things that is very important to me with this particular space and time, especially with telepathy coming to the forefront, is that, I've heard politicians say, we're the ones we've been waiting for. And okay, thank you. I already protested this and protested that, and I got this changed and I got that changed. And now why did I elect you? Come on, you do it. I've already done it. But I know that we have personal responsibility and we have to make decisions in our daily lives that underscore who we really are and what we really believe in. And when I learned about the telepathy tapes, I thought, the moment has arrived for those of us who need new tools or need to refine the tools that we're using. Way in the beginning of the tribe, I used to say to people, we can all feel it. We know we're going to be called on pretty soon to show what we got to see if it will help. And if we're fighting each other because, well, you're not as good as her, you shouldn't charge that much. And, that sort of baloney, lower energy baloney, if that's what you're going to be doing, the curtain will go right back down. And it'll be another 1,000 years before they give us a chance. And now with telepathy, one of the things that you learn when you delve into the telepathy tapes is that you can't participate if you're going to lie. You can't participate if
Right.
you've got nefarious reasons for doing it. You're just unallowed. It doesn't happen. And to me, this is a big separation that naturally occurs. It isn't like there's a judge saying, you're okay for telepathy, you're not okay. It self selects. And I really, really like that. Not that we're perfect human beings, but if you go through learning how to do this and find someone who these telepaths can look at the future, they can look at the past, they can talk to dead people, they can do all the things that we've been doing, but they do it at a different level for different reason. And if they're if you go to them and say, well, I need the winning lottery numbers, you're not going to get them, you
That's
know?
the first thing I would tell people when I would stand up in front of groups. No, I'm not going to give you the lottery numbers because it's not
Yeah.
information that I need. It's not information that's going to help me in my incarnation here, and it won't help you either.
I sometimes say to people when they want to know if Mr. Right is coming along and I'm reading their cards, I can see him, I can describe him to them. And then just as a joke, I'll say, "Do you want his phone number?" But I can't. I don't have it.
Right.
But
My
but
gosh, what an incredible way that you are helping, though, and bringing the information about telepathy, having those amazing speakers come, wrapping this all up. Let's just finish up by saying anything else you would like to share about the experience or anything that we might have missed.
I'd like to just say two more things. One is that I sort of connect these telepaths that are bringing this new energy in with the Navajo code talkers in World War II. The Navajo code talkers, they would transmit the battle plans, and no one could break their language because it was so complicated because it wasn't anything like the Romance languages that were being used during the war. And this is sort of like the code talkers have come back, and they're speaking English or whatever language you speak. And it's it's a joyful moment for mankind. And the other thing that I'd like to say is that IANS, your group, and the Worldwide Metaphysical Tribe, my group, are joining hands this year. I'm promoting your event so that perhaps after people have gone to my event, they want to volunteer and help out at your event, then they can earn a ticket and so forth. And we're going to be contacting people in your group to say, hey, if you come out a couple days early, we've got all the telepathy tape stuff ready for you.
Oh
So
my gosh, that's great. That is
yeah,
awesome.
so
What a great union, too, because both of
oh,
these organizations, yours and IAN's, it's all about that. It's all about where do we need to be? Where do we need to go for the highest frequency to get us to where we're supposed to be, and the experts and the speakers that you're having, all of that. It's just amazing. And I'm just so grateful to have you on the podcast today. And I know
thank you.
that the listeners, those who are watching, please go to the website and check it out because it really does feel just so high frequency and just necessary to continue the way that we need to go, which is up.
Absolutely. And out. The
Yes.
expansion is what's happening now.
Yes,
So
absolutely. Thank you so much, Deb. It has been just incredible having you here, and I just can't wait to hear more about all of the things that you're doing in the future. Thank you so much.
thanks, Serena. I hope we meet in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. And remember, all of the information is right here for you. Please go to the website, check it out, and make sure you do it before July 20th so that Deb can arrange everything and get everything together. It's going to be an unforgettable experience. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you next time.